Yeah, I've been watching a few of your podcasts, and I saw you had the Delta dude on here.
Oh yeah, Comstock. Yeah,
Yeah, I
he's
was like, sweet, I can eat grants.
yeah he's on a lot of podcasts. He's one of those guys. I think I don't know if I told him on the show or if I told him after the episode that I had first heard of him when he was on SOFRET back when everybody was like that was like one of the first military podcasts back before they kind of shot themselves in the foot. And so it was cool to interview him, you know. And I know he's
Yeah,
been on a ton of other podcasts, so people probably seen him around. I was trying to like in the interview, and I'll probably just keep this. So I guess we'll say we're started. I was trying to get his story, and I've heard him on other podcasts, and I knew he was going down like a. He's told the story so many times. He's telling it a certain way, and I'd be like, wait, tell me, I want to hear about this detail. So I'd like cut him off sometimes because I'm like, I know this, I know what you're about to go through and say, but there's more detail I want. So it's kind of funny when you talk to someone like him who's been on, you know, a ton of podcasts and their story is pretty well known. Yours is kind of well known, you know. Well, I guess in the time I remember when that photo came out, you know, of the that round hitting in front of you and stuff. And I think I don't know, were you reached out to by a lot of media after that?
well, I was still in country.
Yeah, yeah,
Like we were still in the kinetic phase of living building to building kind of thing.
yeah. What deployment was that one for you? Because you did 5, right?
Uh, yeah, I did four to Afghan and one to Gitmo,
Okay, okay.
but
And what number was that one for you?
that would have been my fourth, 2008.
Okay. And for the people that don't
Yeah,
know,
this is all new to me, man. Like I've never done a podcast or anything like that.
oh
So
really? Well, hey man, thanks for
yeah,
coming on. Thanks for coming on the Former Action Guys podcast. For people that may not know the photo I'm talking about, I'll use it as the cover photo for the episode, but I'll also throw it up on the screen for a second for the YouTube watchers to see it. I mean, I remember again. I remember when it got taken. I was like, "Damn, dude, that's a cool ass photo," but that's a crazy ass photo. You know, like when you know the person's good, when you find out the person's good, you were good. It's like, oh, that's a cool ass photo. But if you know, obviously, if something would have happened, that would have been shitty. I want to get into all that. I want to talk through like that deployment and stuff like that. You did 4, you know, 4 to Afghanistan, which is pretty wild. So let's start from the beginning, man. Why did you end up joining the Marine Corps?
uh, I knew I was going to be in a branch because nearly every male in my family, going back's been in some way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Uh, but I was a diehard band geek in high school, and that was initially what I was going to do. And like my recruiter had everything set up, for coming out and do the auditions and all that stuff. And I just went to him and I was like, "Look, man, I just want to be a grunt." He's like, "No, with your ASVAB, you could do this, this, this." I was like, he was a combat engineer. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"No, man, I just want to be a grunt. I just want to shoot things and blow shit up."
Yeah.
I didn't understand why he got so pissed about it until years down the line when I was a recruiter and I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, for people that don't know, like getting someone to join the band in the Marines is a pretty big deal for recruiters, right? So you were a recruiter for a little bit?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, how rare is
yeah.
that to find someone that qualifies?
Finding somebody who it's like the whole alpha male, like got to be above 50 on the ASVAB. Somebody who can like pass all the additions and all that kind of stuff. So, and I was pretty geeked out about it at first, but then it just grew into I want to shoot things and blow shit up.
So you just
So,
did that
I mean, that
instead.
was back in 2000, so there was really nothing going on at the time.
Oh, okay. So you joined before the war started. Okay. So what
Yeah.
was the draw at that point? You know, if you joined in 2000 when you were going through boot camp and stuff, obviously when, I joined in 2006, people were talking about the war, people joined because they wanted to go to the war. We couldn't get people, you couldn't get an infantry job, because they were all taken as soon as they'd become open. There were people waiting for those spots because so many people were joining the Marine Corps infantry at the time. What was the vibe like? What did you get from everybody else pre 9/11 of why they were joining?
Well, my whole goal was, you know, join, do Yankee White, work at either Camp David or the White House or something like that. That was my goal. And then after that, move to MSG, live across the pond or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But got into boot camp and they're like, yeah, you're like 2 inches too short. So,
Yeah,
okay, well, oh 03 it is.
'03 it is, man. So how was your infantry training like pre 9/11? What was that like? Has it changed, you think,
Oh,
after 9/11? Did you see guys that were coming out with way better skills, way different skills?
oh yeah, because like when I came in the summer 2000, I mean, obviously we were still training to the previous war, like it always goes.
Of course.
Uh, so we had done, force on force was kind of the size we were estimating. It was all conventional warfare kind of thing, But I'm like super boot, so I have no idea what's going on. I'm just
Yeah.
going where I'm told, doing what I told. But yeah, I mean, training wise, the big thing was funding
Hmm.
because coming out of this following the Clinton administration, DOD didn't have a lot of funding, and especially didn't go out to just basic bullet sponges. So
Yeah.
you were guaranteed to have good training when you were in CAX.
Okay.
At some point during your workup, but other than that, it's a
Yeah.
lot of blank funding.
Yeah, that sucks, man. Yeah, and CAX is the combined arms training out at 29 Palms. For those that don't know, it's like a month long, basically pre-deployment workup or not workup. It's the like certification like exercise. You're supposed to go out and do all these awesome things and blow stuff up, and it's out in 29 Palms, which is massive. So you can get out and maneuver and do crazy stuff. The infantry guys run the same ranges now a lot. It's a pretty miserable course for them to have to go through sometimes, but. When you got done with MOS school and you were heading to the fleet, where'd you go and what was on the horizon?
Well, I went to 3-6. A lot of
Okay.
the guys out of my class got sent to Hawaii, but I didn't want to do the overseas piece, so I requested local. They threw me there, and I remember the day I got there, 3-6 had what they called the warrior spirit, which was basically battalion sanctioned hazing,
Mm-hmm.
where the first 3 days, uh, check in, get all our gear, we have to meet all the TEEP stuff. So they got to get us grenade qual. We got to do our training at the gas chamber, all that kind of stuff. So what they would do is in the morning, PT us out there with our packs. We get our certs and stuff. PT back. As soon as we were back, they'd cut us. Then you're doing beer bongs from the third deck down to the ground through the P-way into the duty hut. That kind of stuff. It was a good time.
Your standard
Yeah.
barracks party
But
stuff.
yeah, dude, it was intimidating as shit the first weekend I got there. I was like, oh, damn.
Oh, I bet, man. I bet it was like, well, it's probably different too. The guys that came after you, because this is still pre 9/11, right? When you got to your unit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how long were you at 3-6 before 9/11 happened?
I was there for like a full workup because as soon as I got there, we were going to be the BLT for the 26 Mu. So we started doing all of our CACs, our different schools, all that. I got sent to Scout Swimmer School to do that. We got all of our Mu certifications, got to do the shoot down in Puerto Rico and all that.
Hmm.
Uh, and 9/11 actually happened while we were on pre-deployment leave. Like we were set to ship out, I think, September 18th.
Oh man, what was going through your mind when that shit happened? Were you like, "Oh fuck, we're the next up. We're up to bat."
Oh, it was mind blowing. Uh, because it was basically we were just pre-deployment leave. We're getting ready to take off and do a booze cruise out to the Med. That was everything. Our seniors had gave us the heads up. That's what we're getting ready to do. Half the battalion is out doing their block leave, so all we're doing is coming in to do PT, get accountability, and you're off the rest of the day, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we just got back from PT and we're doing our changeover, and we were listening to one of the morning shows around here. I can't even remember. I think it was like John Boy and Billy or something like that. And they said somebody flew a plane into a tower. And I mean, we got the most macabre sense of humor on the planet. We're all in the room laughing about it. Like, what the hell? And
Yeah,
then,
what kind of idiot would do that? Because you don't know at the time.
yeah,
People that don't remember or weren't there, we didn't know that when the first tower
yeah,
hit, no one knew. People thought it was an accident. Like, oh shit.
exactly. Like, but as soon as that second one hit, the whole like barracks went quiet. You could have heard a pin drop kind of thing. And not even like 15 minutes later, our platoon sergeant comes sprinting down from the company office. He's like, "Hey, if you live off base, go. You got about 20 minutes before this base shuts down." Like they locked down, no one in, no one out, kind of thing.
So they told you to get off base, huh? That's a surprise. I figured they'd be trying to get everybody, at the units, not knowing what's going on at the time.
I think the platoon sergeant just wanted or the platoon sergeants, I should say, the
Yeah.
whole company wanted everybody out there to get their gear and all that because
Oh,
nobody
that's
had
true.
any
Yeah, that's
stuff
true. That's true.
ready for the actual deployment.
Damn, man, that would have been crazy, man. That would have been crazy to like have been in the military or like. So, I mean, I remember before I joined, there was a documentary on Paris Island on Discovery Channel. And I remember watching it, and 9/11 occurred while they were filming it. And I remember one of the girls or something that was being recorded was like, "Are we at war?" Like not even knowing, because you know how boot camp is. You have no idea what's going on. You're so brain fucked, because it is what it is. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
that's got to be an insane like feeling, knowing like, holy shit, like the training's for real now. Like it's not okay. We're
Yeah.
training, haha. Okay, we're good. Now let's go do our booze cruise. For people that don't know what we're talking about, it means when you go out on ship and you just hit port calls the whole time because there's no wars going on. So you guys are just going and training with other countries and then hitting port calls.
Yeah, we already had planned, you're going to do Christmas in Rome, kind of thing. And it was just,
So
holy
what
hell.
changed? What changed after that? Did anything for your guys' deployment change? Because the MEU that was out was on Libo. They were on a port call in Australia, and they got recalled and got sent into Afghanistan. They were one of the first people in Afghanistan. I think they went in December of right after September 11th. A couple months after. What was the plan for you guys now?
Well, that MEU that went in December, that was the 15th MEU.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the initial invasion, and we were literally right behind them. I think we flew in December 23rd. Nothing really changed for the deployment going up. At first, right afterwards, there was kind of some confusion. Are we going to get sent up to New York to, provide humanitarian aid, which is just terrifying when you're thinking about, we did that during a workup, but we were planning on doing that shit in Somalia, not in New York City.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the whole workup the whole initial deployment went kind of like planned. We would hit different Libo ports, but it was literally, hey, you're just doing beer on the pier, that's it. But they pulled us out of Operation Bright Star, which is where the MEU does the training with basically all the NATO forces out in Egypt kind of thing.
Okay.
And they pulled us out of there early. They chopped us to Task Force 58, which was the 15th MEU, the 26th MEU, and basically all the invasion forces. So while we were as soon as we got hit with that, we went through the Suez Canal, and our ship actually got tasked with doing a VBSS on a Chinese merchant vessel in the Arabian Sea. Apparently one of bin Laden's kids was on board. That was the intel that we received. It wasn't shit but a bunch of rice, like a whole just quad cons full of rice.
Yeah.
Whole lot of wasted time, but it was cool. Like the first real world mission you get to do is doing a fast rope out of a Seahawk at night, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the visit board search and seizure for those that don't know.
Yeah.
What was the thinking on ship? I mean, how is everybody like, oh shit, we're getting We're like heading to a combat zone, not knowing, what we're heading into. This is something new. This is a new war. This is the new. What was everybody like? What was the mindset on ship?
Well, the leadership was trying to play it off like it's no big deal, but all the boots were sitting here thinking like, guys, you've got as much trigger time as we do.
Yeah.
So, we have no idea what's going to go on. And I really think they didn't know what to do with us when they first sent us in.
Mm-hmm.
Because they flew us in, like I said, I think it was like December 22nd, 23rd, something like that. They flew us into Posny, Pakistan. From there, we hit Fob Rhino, which was, it's just south of like the Garmser area, Southern Helmand.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed a couple days there. We got to meet John Walker, which was pretty funny.
Oh, really? No way.
Oh yeah.
You're talking about the American Taliban dude, right? The dude that got captured.
Yep.
John Walker Lynn is his name, I believe.
Yep. Well, actually, I think he changed his name now. God knows what it is. I mean.
Oh, is he in the U.S.?
He might be. Oh yeah, he's in U.S. prison. I think he's getting released soon.
Really? But, what was that like? Meeting you saw an American over there that was on the enemy side.
It was kind of mind blowing because one of the NCOs in our company, his brother was on the recon team that was escorting him back to the States. And he's basically like, "Hey man, you guys want to see him?" Like, shit, why not?
Yeah.
Sandbag, flexi cuffed, all that kind of stuff. But it was pretty funny to see. You're like, okay, I hope this guy disappears down a dark hole for a long time.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's a weird story. People ought to look him up if they don't know what we're talking about. But he was an American citizen that was like in a Taliban training camp and stuff like that when 9/11 happened. And yeah, that's nuts. So when you guys got there, was there much going on at this point? Because early on in the whole thing in Afghanistan, it was CIA guys, special forces dudes, and the Northern Alliance, which was, the guys that are basically fighting the Taliban now. Were they having you guys do much out there?
No, that's why I said we got kind of wasted.
Yeah.
Because like December 25th of 01, they flew us from Fob Rhino into Kandahar Airfield. And it had just been, that thing was still smoking. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, hell, what do we do with this battalion of Marines? Well, let's put them in a 360 around the airfield.
Okay.
And they just left it there for months. So,
well, I mean, they got to secure it, unfortunately. So your first deployment was standing posts around an airfield, huh?
It wasn't standing post. It was sitting in a fighting hole
for
like
really?
3 months, staring at this goddamn mountain and just waiting.
Did you ever see anything out there?
Well, we did. It was kind of annoying because the ROEs, when we first did the invasion, was don't fire unless fired upon, that kind of stuff. And you would see we couldn't really move in front of our position because of all the minefields the Soviets had laid around Kandahar Airfield.
Yeah.
So you would see the Taliban like sitting on the other side of the road on a rock, just sitting there sketching out our positions. We couldn't really do shit. But we did get lit up. I know my first firefight ever was January 6th of 01. And, nowadays we barely even call it a firefight. It was more of a probe than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But they just happened to hit where my platoon was. And I think that was the biggest mistake they could have made because, we'd been sitting there for, weeks at this point with nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
First shot pops off, and it's like the ammo expenditure was just through the roof.
Oh, I bet. Everybody's like, I'm getting it this time. This is for real.
Yep.
Damn. Yeah, I bet, dude. That's I don't know, man. That's funny. That's how it is, though. That's the reality of going overseas to something like that is a lot of boredom, and then something crazy for a little bit,
Yep. Well, they pulled us off a limit, and they were actually going to task us with Anaconda, and then the 101st filled in behind us, and they ended up. I think it was the 101st got tasked with it.
Man, you got in your first firefight in January of '01, 20 years ago.
No, January '02.
Oh two, excuse me, '02, 19 years ago. Either way. Well, no, that's
No,
20
that's
years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. I was right the first time.
20.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy, man. That's I mean, there was guys now that are I mean, there was guys going to Afghanistan that hadn't even been born yet when you had your first first firefight. That's wild.
Oh, I know. I see him every day on the range. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet, dude. So when you got back from that, I mean, was that really it? You got into one kind of like skirmish with them, and then that was really it for you guys, or?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
We finished off the deployment. Nothing really else happened. We get back, and we're not even done unloading packs. And one of the guys comes down from the company office, is like, "Hey guys, we're going again in 6 months," because they chopped us to the 4th MEB, the Marine Expeditionary Brigade, when it first stood up. They made 3/6 the Anti-Terrorism Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
So we were basically responsible for the embassy in Kabul, Gitmo, and Djibouti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that kind of sucks. That's not your. I mean, it's better than sitting at home. I guess it depends on where you get sent, though, too. Depending on.
Yeah, it was weird though because it was like 3 months deployed. You would get like 2 weeks, live.
What's that? I think I lost you for a second.
Month,
I think I lost you for a second.
Okay.
You said you'd get 2 weeks of what?
Got me?
Mm-hmm.
You got me?
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be like a 3-4 month deployment. You get 2 weeks leave when you're done. Then you go right back into working up for the next spot that you're going to.
Interesting. So 3 months at a time, 2 weeks off. I mean, that's not horrible. I mean, that sucks. I mean, if you're a single dude just living in the barracks, it's definitely not that bad. You make a little extra money.
Yeah. It costs a lot of barracks.
Oh, I bet, dude. I bet. When you guys
did that for like 20-something months.
When you guys came back from that deployment, that first deployment, were there guys that were like, "This sucks. This isn't what I thought it'd be"? That was the deployment. Like that was it, and said fuck it and got out, or were guys like energized to come back and go back in 6 months?
Well, our reception was like really just off the wall. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Because being the first guys out, we also got to be the first ones back. And the rest of the MEU was unloaded, I want to say via helo, because they were on the big decks and stuff, but we were a boat company. So they put us in through Morehead City. We unloaded there, and we got a police escort back to Lejeune, which was just amazing because all the way from Morehead City to Jacksonville, what is that, 20 miles, you had people just lined the entire highway. It was just amazing.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good vibe.
That went away real quick, but
people are like, all right, I went out for the first couple. This is a couple years in now. I think it's time to do something different. Yeah. After that, man, so what was the plan for you? Which one did you get sent out on?
The first one I went out on was Kabul.
Okay.
We took off, I want to say November of '02, and right back in there. And we were there, I want to say till April. And man, winter up in Kabul is not fun.
Oh, I bet.
Like they didn't typically how the Marine Corps covers like embassy duty.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, they didn't want some guys from MSG. They wanted like legit an infantry company to stay in the embassy itself. Company minus. But yeah, that was pretty intense. There was a constant level of stress in that one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it's not where it's where the embassy is now, but it was a completely different layout. The surrounding terrain, it was all urban. Everything was looking down at you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just, if you're outside in the open, it was just,
what was
the hairs on the back of your neck.
What was the city? What did the city look like in those early days? Were you like, oh, it's pretty modern? Was it modern? I mean, looking to you, was it, obviously it's foreign. It's still foreign, but what's that?
It was like legit Mad Max.
Yeah.
By the end of '02, because everything, by that time, the Northern Alliance had condensed back into, the government. They're starting to establish all that. Uh, but there's still a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rolling deep anytime you're moving with Humvees or anything like that. Um, but yeah, it was actually a pretty nice deployment though. It was a good time.
What was the early embassy like? Was it? I mean, were you guys getting attacked? Was it? Was it pretty secure already? Because they spent a shit ton of money building the new one that we abandoned, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a whole. I could do a whole show on that one alone.
But what was the early days
But
like? Were you guys getting attacked there? Was it pretty secure, or how did it feel?
it was kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
Most weeks, I mean, how the game is. Most of the days just sitting around doing nothing, waiting to get hit. Um, no real V bids. We had a couple IEDs went off that they'd snuck, near the embassy. You catch the occasional sniper round, but that was really it.
Yeah.
I mean,
pretty low key. It's a
yeah,
weird, again,
yeah.
for
It was
people
just
that don't
a
know,
level of stress the entire time.
it's weird how you get used to those like little things, like sniper occasionally, occasional IED goes off, whatever, like nothing crazy, nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Well, then you compare that stuff to like later on in your career, and you're like, yeah, that was a nice deployment.
It's all relative, man. It's all relative, because like, let's say, you come back from your first deployment and you got into one little skirmish, and immediately though, no one knows that. You were automatically seen like, oh shit, the combat veterans. These guys just came back from fighting for glory, throwing spears at the enemy. You know what I'm saying?
But back in '02, like that was a huge deal.
Getting
Like,
your
I
combat
remember
action ribbon was probably a big deal. Yeah.
it was like I remember when I was in boot camp, my senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Ramos, it was a huge deal because he was one of the only drill instructors that had a combat action. That was like from his time at Desert Storm.
Oh yeah.
But he sat us down one day, took the cover off, and he's like, what questions you guys got for us? And the first one was, what's combat like? And he just kind of sits there and looks at us. He's like, you want to know what combat's like? Combat is sitting in a hole until your underwear literally rots away from your body. You're waving by to your company guns after he dropped off 2 cases of MREs and some water jugs. And he says, see you in 5 days. And he got done with that, and we're just like, whatever. That's 1992. That's 93. That's how the old guys used to fight. It's nothing like that anymore.
Yeah, I've seen the movies. It's nothing like that.
Right. Fast forward a year, and you're waving by to company guns as he dropped off, 2 cases of MREs. You're like, oh, shit.
Out on the OP again. Here we are. Yeah, that's funny, man. I mean, and then now imagine the boots coming in are like, oh, shit. These are the first dudes that went to Afghanistan. So imagine how crazy you would have, you said your first couple of days you were nervous, or that first week you were nervous. Imagine how nervous you'd be then. If you're like, hey, you guys are going to 3-6. They just got back from Afghanistan. One of the first ones in. People be, that's got to be a mind fuck for the new guys. What's that?
You good? Sorry, I lost you for a second, man.
Oh, I was saying it's got to be like a mind fuck for the new guys, that are coming in, and their instructors are like, "Hey, you're going to 3-6." Those dudes just got back. They're the first dudes in that, some of the first guys in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, and they got to 3-6, and we're like, guess what, bitches? Don't even unpack your stuff because we're going back to Kabul in 4 months.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then and it's like you think, but as someone who's never been as like a boot, you're thinking like, oh man, who knows what this guy's seen? Who knows what they've done? And then you go to Afghanistan or whatever, and you're like, man, this sucks. Like fucking hot ass water out of these plastic bottles, shitting in a bag. You guys probably weren't doing that at the embassy, but
burn a shit pot all day.
Yeah, fuck, man. So after that embassy deployment, that's 2 of your 5 deployments. What was your third one? Back to the embassy?
No, that one's down to Gitmo, because we flew in March 25th of 2003 because that was my 21st birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And,
great.
Yeah, well, I thought it was really cool just because that, first time I get to drink legally is, the day we get to Gitmo.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting, everything you would picture with barbed wire fences, guys in orange jumpsuits and all that kind of stuff. And I was disappointed because when we flew in, it was just, it looked like, what is that, Paradise Point, you know? It just looks like Mainside Camp Lejeune. That's basically it.
Yeah. Had not point.
Yeah,
I
had
believe.
not point.
Yeah. That's crazy. I had another guy on that did one of those rotations to Guantanamo Bay because you guys were there as a security force, correct? Standing posts on the fences, and you had your like guys on the other side, the Cuban nationals that were like mirroring you and stuff. He was saying that they would get Cuban nationals that would try to swim across around the fence and come in, or people that would try to come across, and that they would just turn around and they would have to turn them back over to the Cubans, and then the Cubans would just take them down the way a little bit and execute them. Is that something you saw? Does that sound?
Yeah, like that kind of stuff happens, not necessarily with the executing part, but that was a big part of what we dealt with, because these guys are desperate, to get asylum, but they have to land in the U.S., not in the U.S. held territory, kind of thing. So as soon as they get to us, after we, sandbagged them, flexi-cuffed them, stuffed them in the back of the Humvee, we sit there interrogating them. Where are you from? What are you doing? Get their names and stuff, and we just pass them off to whoever, because they're going to get sent right back out the door. But they're basically, the embassy has some kind of rule with the Cubans where anybody who seeks asylum, they have to check in with like every 18 months or so. Whether that's still happening or not, but just to make sure, like they weren't doing the whole smoking them right outside the gate.
Yeah, exactly. Because
no problem with pack of dudes getting there though.
Oh, I bet.
Like one of their big ways they would swim in was like through the river that goes into Guantanamo Bay. So the Cubans got a meat packing plant where they just toss all their old meat right there in the bay. So you get sharks all over that
Really?
area. Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
It's an interesting kind of deployment. It was definitely my best, without a doubt.
Really? Yeah, that's cool.
Oh.
Do you get any kind of... You guys don't get anything from Cuba, though, right? Like, there's no... I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think, like... Because the normal place, let's say you get deployed to, like, Rota, Spain, or you get sent to Rota, Spain to be security forces. When you're not working, you're going out in town and drinking and having a good time. Obviously, that's not happening in Cuba. You're staying... It's like being on base the entire time, right? And it's all just American shit?
Yep. Yeah, there's like 4 guys that live off base that are allowed on base. And like those dudes have been working there since Jesus, God knows. But
those are the OG spies.
Yeah,
they've been around forever.
Oh yeah. For a hot minute, let's put it that way. But yeah, our operating tempo out there was pretty legit, because you would do like a week on post, you would do a week training, and then you would have a week off. And you would just rotate that the entire time you were there. And it was nice with the Marine Corps side, because we had access to the fence line, whereas no one else could. Like even the naval security, the MP guys, they weren't even allowed out in the fence line. So like if we wanted someplace to go to chill out, or to go fish where nobody else was allowed, that's basically where we go.
Go out to the fence line, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
there's some beautiful places out there.
Oh, I'm sure, man. I'd love to go to Cuba. I think the only way you can go now, I think travel's restricted. Right now, I think the only way you can go is to go to like Mexico or Canada and then fly to Cuba from there. And someone was telling me that if you do that, you take your passport, because you can't technically go. They can't stamp it. You go, they stamp like a piece of paper, and you put it in your passport. And then when you leave, you just throw the piece of paper away. It's just documentation while you're there of when you came in. And that way you're not documented when you come back to the U.S. I don't know if any of that is true, but I'm just saying I have looked into it a little bit, because I would like to go to Cuba. I think it'd be cool to... I think their politics are obviously fucked up, but I think the people, the people are bright, colorful people. It looks like a cool environment to like hang out in.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, man. So when you came back from that one, what was the plan for 3-6?
They did the 4th Med for a few more months after I got back. And then they got chopped to another Afghan deployment. And this one was up in I want to say RC East, like the Zawakili kind of region, like the eastern side of Afghan. But it was a straight up mountain deployment.
Yeah.
And I had no desire by that point to do that anymore. So I had actually re-enlisted for recruiting duty.
Yeah, and that you kind of had to, right? If you're going to stay in, you had to as an infantryman.
Well, not even that. It was more, I'm just tired of deploying. I want to stay here for a while kind of thing.
Oh, well, that's a mistake because everything I've heard about recruiting is you're never home anyway. You're in the office trying to get those band, those band members to join.
Well, my first sergeant's like, I would much rather see you go EOD or cover intel or something like that. I'm like, no, man, this is guaranteed 3 years stateside, no field ops. This is what I want to do.
How bad could it be?
How bad could it be? Why is the suicide rate so high?
Oh, is there I could see that being a high. Dude, recruiters are put under some recruiters are put under some undue stress. You know what I'm saying? Like at the time during the global war on terror, the numbers, if you don't meet your numbers, that's it. If you fail recruiting, like if you don't meet your numbers and you get kicked off recruiting, that's it. That's your career. It's over. I knew a guy when I deployed with 3-6 in 2011, we had a sergeant there named Lopez, and he was on his like 2nd or 3rd deployment, I think, with 3-6. Multiple awards, combat awards, all this stuff, and had gone recruiting and sucked at being a recruiter, kicked off of it, and now he was a sergeant trying to stay in and had fucking letters of recommendation all up past, I think even past the colonel, the full bird colonel. And they denied it because of his fucking time on recruiting and stuff. And I'm like, dude, some guys just aren't good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, now I will say there's some fucking scumbags on recruiting. My first recruiter he got arrested there was a hotel party that a bunch of girls from my high school were at with him, and they were like doing coke and shit. And so I think one of the parents found out, and this dude used to come, like when we first, because September 11th happened, we went down to the recruiter's office. That's the first time we talked to him. And this dude would come down and eat lunch with us. He'd come to the school and come hang out, which was like, all right, cool. Like the first time, like, all right, cool. He's just trying to, get people to join. And he'd be like, what's up with that chick? And you're like, what? Like, dude, how old are you? Like, what are you talking about? And he ended up getting a scumbag. Huh? He ended up getting popped for that. I think he got kicked out of the Marines. I got a new recruiter after that, but
oh yeah, they don't mess around with that.
But that's not uncommon, right? That's not an uncommon thing on recruiting is dudes banging poolies or banging some of the female high school chicks.
It's not uncommon, but everybody sees it at least once during their 3 years out there.
Yeah.
And like I got like preventatively counseled because like I went out there at 22 years old as a corporal.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, stay out of the pool. Don't be hitting on the poolies. Stay away from the high school girls. And like, I don't need any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, stay away from that drama. And moms, too. I heard a lot of dudes are banging the police moms and shit. I'm like, Jesus, dude, sounds like a mess out there in recruiting. Just lives getting destroyed.
You got to get parental consent. Some things have.
It's like Forrest Gump.
Bite the bullet on that one.
Oh, man. So how'd you do on recruiting? Was it all right for you, or?
The thing that really got me is they don't give a damn about effort. It's all about results,
numbers.
No matter how hard you try. And like when I first started, I recruited during 2004 to 2007. So, peak time during both wars, they're still forming up eighth and ninth, or they're forming up ninth reg. So like, hey, we're up in your requirements. And my first couple of years, I did really good.
Yeah.
I think my second year, I pulled like runner-up recruiter of the year for like the Pittsburgh area. But I had a good area too, like Flight 93, where that went down, Shanksville, PA. That was actually kind of part of my area.
Oh man, that's crazy. What's that area like? What's that memorial? I'm sure you've been out there then if you were recruiting that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that feeling of like sacred ground kind of thing, kind of like if you ever gone to like Ground Zero where that was being the Freedom's Towers were being built, that kind of thing. When I went there in 2004, that was one of the first places I went there as soon as I found out where I was getting sent. And it was just a chain link fence. And it was just, guys that clicked badges to it. They've clipped firefighting helmets on it, patches, all kind of stuff. So it really got you in the feels anytime you went there.
Oh, I bet, dude. I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it.
But it's a really rural area, very, country, corn-fed kind of area. So, the patriotism level there is pretty high.
That's how
we didn't have that much of a problem out there.
That's how it was in Indiana too. A lot of guys from my high school planned on joining. There was a lot of people going to the recruiter. I don't think I'm sure they had to put in effort, but I don't think they had to put in as much effort as some people. My buddy that I said got fucked was like during that same era when they were plussing up and they're like, hey, you got to start meeting these, couple people a month or whatever the quotas were. And he was in like New York City, I think. And he was like, dude, you just can't get people. You just couldn't get people to join. Oh, I was like, yeah, that sucks, man. But anyways, so go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's just a weird position to be in where that this kid that you're talking to is not going to do anything in his life but maybe peak at like pushing carts at Walmart. And the guy will look at you and you're like, fuck you, I'm not going to Afghanistan to fight for oil. Oh my God. Like, hey, good luck, man.
Yeah.
So a kid could tell you pound sand, but at the same time, you got another guy who's doing everything that he can to get in, but because of some medical issue 18 years ago, he can't do it.
Yeah, I'm sure you run into all kinds of not only kids but parents. I'm sure I was a telemarketer for about 9 months, and I had some interesting people yelling at me and stuff like that. So I'm sure you get the similar vibe, over the phone when you're calling people's houses and asking them if they want to join and stuff like that. I hate the fact that people think it's like a lot. There's a stigma that people join because they have to. It's like one of those things. And it's like, dude, nah, man, there's a lot of people that join because they're just bored. They want to try something new or whatever. And there's so many different jobs. I think the cool thing about podcasts and social media is people are realizing that the military does so many things. It's so crazy, the vast amount of stuff. I got an argument on Twitter or fucking Facebook or something, whatever, one of those pages with someone. I'm like, dude, you think that we only send, like, that every person is an infantryman? Like, who do you think manned those ships that went to New York and L.A. during the COVID whole thing kicked off? That the USS or USNS or whatever it is, Mercy and Hope, those things get sent all over the world helping people out. Who do you think gets sent in when there's a natural disaster? When Haiti has an earthquake, we send ships and planes and fucking everything else out there. Like, it's not just us going to Afghanistan or Iraq and stuff. When Sri Lanka got hit by the tsunamis and they were all taken out, who got sent to that? The MEU got sent. The MEU and people from Okinawa got sent to go help all these people. So it's good that it sucks that people don't know more about it. It's got to be a tough sell sometimes, especially, I bet now after the pullout in Afghanistan, I bet that was a real tough time for recruiters. That was a shitty PR thing for our military because it just looked real bad,
Oh, just like a bunch of clowns.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Politicians fuck us every time. When you were coming to the end of recruiting, what was the plan? Did you do you have options? Can you lap move at that point, or do you have to go back to the fleet? Like, what's the options for an infantryman coming off recruiting?
Initially, I wanted to get into EOD because my buddy Chris Strickland, he was an EOD tech, and he had already picked up staff like a couple years before I was like even close.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I mean, techs they pick up quick. He tried talking me into it. His wife talked to my wife. That ended up not being an option. But one of the big things about recruiting duty that they sell you on to get there is, you know, if you choose to go to recruiting duty, then you got a good chance of going where you want to go as long as you have a successful tour at the end. Mm-hmm. Now, I J9F'd for recruiting duty, which means I re-enlisted specifically for recruiting duty. So I was supposed to have my top pick, and I didn't end there on a good note. Like I still got the tab and all that stuff. I finished the tour successfully, but I had pissed some people off during the time, and shit, lost my spot there.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, so initially I told the sergeant major, he's like, okay, where's your 3 places you want to go? I was like, I want to go to Pendleton, I want to go to Pendleton, and I want to go to Pendleton. He's like, okay. So he gets back to me a week later. He's like, there's, sorry to say, man, there's no space available. I was like, wait, there's not a slot for a single 0311 sergeant on all of Camp Pendleton. No, there's not. You can go to 29 Palms or you can go to 16. I guess I'll go back to 6 Reg. You know, 29 Palms isn't exactly.
That is not
real estate.
Yeah, sitting out in the desert doesn't sound like a good time.
Yeah, but that or going back to 6 Reg. That's like, oh god, here we go.
How was it? Was it different? You know, you've been gone for a couple of years. Had the area changed at all, or did it feel like you were just walking right back in? You know, back into the same area.
Like coming back to the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing had changed about the town. Nothing had changed about the base. But like the way we were training was 100% different. But
yeah.
You know,
yeah, I bet, man. I bet things have started changing in all the training commands and stuff like that. You know, new gear. You guys probably had new gear and all that stuff. Coming back from recruiting as a sergeant, did you feel like you're a little behind the power curve? Did you like, oh shit, I need to go PT. Oh shit, I need to like get out and like get on my feet because everybody's looking up to you. You can't fall out of the run when you're the fucking sergeant, especially in the infantry, you know?
Oh yeah. So like the second I check in on like 5th of July of 07. And right away they stick me in they make me the headquarters platoon sergeant, you know, that notional billet. Mm-hmm. It's because they didn't know what the hell to do with me. They sent me to squad leader school, and the only time in my career I blew a PFT out my ass. And I was like, oh shit, I got to try this again. So 3 weeks later, went with a couple more buddies from mine from 16, go through it. And honestly, the 8 or 9 weeks that squad leader school is, I learned more in that time period than I did my previous 7 years as a grunt. Mm-hmm. Because like that school, they definitely lessons from Iraq and Afghanistan, they had definitely been applied to, you know, the curriculum at that point.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, initially we were training to fight, you know, the big red monster or whatever. Now we're talking like, you know, distributed ops, the 3-block war, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure. That makes sense to send you to something like that when you come off recruiting, to kind of get you back in the saddle a little bit and kind of, you know, I've heard many times people say no one cares on recruiting what your PFT score is unless you don't make mission, you know, and then it becomes an issue. Oh, you didn't make weight, you didn't make mission, then you didn't make weight, you know, it's like, oh. Oh, so yeah. Funny how that works.
So I think a lot of people come back from recruiting back to the fleet and are like, oh shit, I got to start running more. You know, like these guys are doing it every day still. I forgot about that. That's cool, man. Squad leader school, that's got to be a way better option than like corporal scores or something like that. To be honest, I never went to any PME while I was in. So
Mhm.
I can only tell you what they sounded like. But as a 0861, well, yeah, as an 0861, I had no need. I didn't need to go to Staff NCO Academy. I didn't need to go to, at the time, I didn't need to go to like recruiting or anything like that because it was a high demand MOS, high tempo MOS, and guys were just getting out because they're like, living in the field gets old after a while. So
Yeah.
it's one of those jobs where, hey, there's always if you're not a moron, you do okay, you're probably going to get promoted on time, or maybe even early if you're really good, because it's just
Yeah.
one of those jobs. So I didn't have to do any of that stuff. So you're glad you went to squad leader school. When you came back, did you feel like you were more ready to like, all right, let's do this? Like, at that point, you probably don't want to be the fucking headquarters platoon sergeant anymore.
Oh hell no! All I wanted to be was a squad leader. That's all I ever wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when we got all set up with that, we finished squad leader school. Our company had, without a doubt, the best group of NCOs I have ever seen. Up until that point, get ready to do that hit, and knowing that we were going to go do a MEU, and from there that we were going directly in country to Afghanistan to do some stuff. That was definitely a lot more exciting than just sitting on a boat doing gator squares in the middle of the ocean.
Were you surprised that we're still doing the deployments to Afghanistan at this point? Were you like, damn, dude, like I already went recruiting, did that for a couple of years, now I'm back, and we're still doing this Afghan thing?
I was glad there was something to do.
Yeah.
I mean, pre 9/11, your life in the fleet was just wall locker inspections and gear inspections. At
Mm-hmm.
least Afghan gave us something to do.
Yeah. It's funny, like people on the outside would be like, we need to end these wars so the people, the soldiers and Marines don't have to go. And it's like, well, a lot of the soldiers and Marines want to go because
Oh yeah,
we're tired of practicing, want to go play the game. But
LARPing in the woods.
yeah, but if there's a purpose, after a while,
Yeah.
it's like, what's the fucking purpose at this point? That's what Afghanistan turned into. So where were you guys headed? Where was 3 or 1-6 headed at this point?
Initially, we were going to be chopped to a MEU, but we did get chopped to the MEU actually, the 24th. We were supposed to be doing a med cruise, but that just turned into,
That
hey
never
guys,
works out for you. That never
never.
works out for you.
You're going to go straight into Afghan, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with you whenever you get there.
Yeah. So what'd they do with you when you got there?
So they said, okay, we're going to stick you down in Kandahar for your first bit while we kind of work out what's going to happen. And Kandahar Airfield had just built a new spot specifically for the Marines,
Mm-hmm.
which coincidentally was all the way across on the other side of the airfield where there was no other units or any supporting facilities or anything. And it just happened to be like 50, 100 yards from where my old hole was. But
That's cool.
we just sat there. Yeah, it was pretty legit. You walk out of the bird and you see that same goddamn mountain that you stared at for months.
Hello again,
But
old
now
friend.
oh yeah, but now you got like an ice skating rink. You've got a theater. It's like, okay, this is a deployment, I guess.
Kandahar. I heard stories. I never made it out there. I have a photo somewhere of me on the flight line that I took. I hopped off the plane long enough, and my buddy John Isley shot a picture of me in front of those are the Hindu Kush mountains out there. So those are like crazy high mountains. And then we jumped back on the plane because we were just dropping off some Air Force dudes on our way down to Leatherneck and then helos into Sangin. So you guys came in with the MEU. Obviously, you didn't take a ship to Afghanistan since it's landlocked. So did you guys just fly straight over from the United States, or did you fly in from somewhere else?
Well, we hit. I think at that point we were using Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan,
Yeah, because when we had flew into the embassy before, we were going through Bahrain, but by this time we transitioned to Manus.
Yeah.
So
old Manus.
But
Yep.
yeah, they flew us into Kandahar, and we just sat there for like a month. And the command would make us do laps around the flight line with gear. Just
Just to keep you moving,
Fighting a
huh?
notable imagery, getting you that
See,
fighting a
that's so stupid, man. Like, what a waste of an asset. Like, why bring us? Like, if you're not gonna, if they don't have a mission for you, then why even send you? You know what I'm saying? It's probably that was probably some US3 or S3 Alpha talked to someone and swindled a deal. Like, look, man, we don't want to sit on a ship for 6 months. Like, let us fly into Afghanistan. We'll just sit on the airfield. That's way better than sitting on ship for
yep.
6 months. And they're like, all right, let's
Yeah,
do it.
well,
Let's make it happen. That's probably how that conversation went. You know.
oh, you would think.
Did you
And
guys did you guys do anything? Was there any kind of patrolling or anything, or did you guys get orders to go somewhere else after sitting in Kandahar?
well, when we first got there, this is 2008.
Yeah.
We met up with the first of the 508th. That was an Army infantry unit,
Mm-hmm.
and we were basically going to be taking over what they were doing in Afghan at the time. And their op tempo was basically occupy an area for 20 to 45 days, do some work, come back, go out to a different area, just basically doing hits and coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we were initially going to do, just in Garmser, which was kind of southern Helmand.
Yeah. So you guys went into Garmser, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So were you there? Was that like, would you call that an invasion, or were you guys like the first forces there into Garmser? What was that? Because I know there was a pretty big like operation into Garmser around that time frame. Is that the same one?
That was what we were doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was a massive air invasion.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool too because our ROEs were very loose there. It was kind of, if it's not camis, shoot it. Just because our PSYOPs guys had gone out and dropped the pamphlets, all this kind of stuff. Hey, we're going to come in and take over the town, kick the Taliban out. If you're not Taliban, leave. And at the same time, the Taliban did the same thing, going through the area being like, hey, we're going to fight the Marines. So if you're not with us, get out. Which didn't really work out for them because that opened up the ROEs for us to do a lot more shit.
Did you see any like families or anything that tried to stay back, that like stayed in the area? Because not everybody's going to be able to leave, obviously.
Rarely. No, like they did a real good job of getting the hell out of town.
Yeah.
For like the first 3 months of that, it was completely kinetic. Well, probably first 2.5 months, completely kinetic. There were no civilians around. Like if they were like dug in and hidden.
Yeah. What was your guys' mission here? Obviously, you weren't setting up FOBs, like forward operating bases or anything like that, and sitting on a base. Were you guys out on foot patrols every day? Like, were you pushing into new areas, or were you guys going into areas, holding them, and then just trying to secure them slowly?
Well, you've got that area from in southern Helmand that's the pass to Pakistan where they could funnel weapons and stuff up.
Yeah, the Khyber Pass.
Yeah. So what they were doing with us was initially going to have us establish like an overwatch along that supply route.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of turned into Operation Gilligan, where it was supposed to be like a 10-hour mission, and 10 years later we're still there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when we did that hit, like Dwyer, for example, Dwyer was actually built by our MU as one of the resupply points for us.
Okay.
So
Dwyer's where I flew in on my first deployment to Afghanistan with 3.6. When we went into Marja for the second time, that 3.6 was there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what were you guys seeing? What was the enemy composition? Were you guys getting like actual firefights, like extended firefights, or was it like little hit and runs, like little pot shots? Like, what did you guys see there? I've seen a lot of footage of aircraft of American air, close air support, hitting a lot of targets in Garmser.
Oh yeah, it was pretty intense. Like I'd never been in an environment like that up until that point.
Yeah.
It was literally for the first couple months that we were there, it was 3 firefights a day, like morning, afternoon, evening. You did not leave the building that you occupied at all to patrol or do nothing. And it was all long distance engagements, 400 to 600 meters, which obviously we're fine with because they're using AKs and RPGs. I'll match those guys 400 meters all day. Uh, but wherever they would take a couple pot shots at us, we'd do a CAD on it just because we could.
Hmm.
We didn't have to rely on purple air, with other countries or anything like that because the MEU, we had our own
Aircraft.
assets. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. For those that don't know, a SEAD is a suppression of enemy air defense. And what we would do there, that's when you bring up your forward observer and you shoot a suppressing round or suppressing rounds at a target that would normally attack your aircraft. So let's say we have a ZPU-2 or whatever out there, a little 2-barrel 20 millimeter fucking thing, and they're shooting at your helos. You can hit that with high explosive rounds from your artillery, and then if you want, also you can mark a separate target with like a smoke or a white phosphorus round. Drop that on a separate target, and then have your aircraft attack that while your artillery is attacking the other, or they can attack both. It's just a way to come in and do some damage and stuff like that, and try to protect the aircraft while they're flying around. What? So that's what you guys saw was AKs and RPGs mostly.
for the most part, yeah. Um,
What about
like the
IEDs? Were you guys seeing IEDs at this time? Was it that bad?
done. Like that
None,
was the
huh?
amazing thing. Like,
That's crazy.
well, 1-6, the guys that when I came in July of '07, they were on their post deployment from Ramadi in the 2006 2007 timeframe, which was one of the most kinetic environments on the
Yeah,
planet.
yeah.
Uh, so all these junior guys were now, going to be the team leaders under me and stuff like that. So I had like a real solid group of guys. Uh, I had what held the squad when we were there, and it got to the point where, like the first bit of a deployment when you first get your firefights, everybody wants to get in there and get some. You know, 2 weeks into Garmser, it was the point where we're trying to sleep in the middle of these firefights because we know our watch rotation is going to come up, you know? So
Yeah.
we're trying to acclimatize ourselves to that kind of environment. And it was just nuts. It was an absolute blast, but it was nuts.
That's
Uh,
crazy, dude.
but that's one thing I kind of admired about the Taliban was up until that point, I had not seen IEDs. I had seen a lot of, gunfire, and a lot of times they would stick around and like fight the fight with you or against you, I should say. But whereas IEDs, we had nothing until we hit our final positions. Um, and when we established our company fob, we
Hmm.
started doing ops out of there. And I remember I was getting ready to do like an LPOP at like 2 a.m. Uh, and I had already done my patrol brief and everything. And we tell the guys, get some sleep. 10 o'clock at night, 2200, some huge explosion goes off. And we're like, what the hell was that? No, none of the positions it got eyes on. Okay, well, it must have been nothing. We'll figure it out tomorrow whenever we're on patrol.
Hmm.
We take off, 2 in the morning. We find a crater, you know, damn near as big as a house, just monstrous. We're like, what the hell? Radioed in. Yeah, we'll have EOD out there on your way back. So just do your LPOP. We got our squad mascot. We called him Wishbone because he looked just like a damn Jack Russell.
Hmm.
But we hear him munching on something the entire LPOP. I'm
Oh.
like, oh, damn dog's probably killed somebody's chicken. Uh, Light comes up. We start making our way back. We look at the dog. He's just walking around, got a hand in his mouth. Ah,
Fuck.
shit.
Oh.
We take
That's
the
just.
hand away from the dog. Well, the funny part is, we're like, take the hand away from the dog. The dog takes off running. I was like, okay, now where's he going? He stops. So we go in, and it's bones. And it's like literally just a rib cage, spine, pelvis, skull, almost everything's just there, just blown out. We're like, what the hell? Dog goes off to another spot. Okay, go over there. It's the dude's skin.
Oh my
The
god.
guy, and literally got blown out of the skin.
Oh, dude.
Oh, well,
I don't
just
feel
to
bad
add,
for him putting in an IED and all, but damn, that sucks.
exactly. Like I look at his ribs, like the first thing that I see is the fake Rolex he's got going
Yeah,
is
yeah.
still ticking, which just made me crack up. But yeah, when EOD came out there to do their post blast analysis, I guess the guy was trying to put in the IED and didn't know what the hell he was doing. Everything was all connected, and as soon as he connected the power source, the
Mm.
circuit was already complete. Blew himself out of his bones.
Damn, man, that's crazy.
I didn't even know that shit was possible.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah. Well, fuck, man. I mean, that's the early days of IEDs in Afghanistan. Then they're probably still figuring it out. So you're gonna have
Oh
mistakes.
yeah.
The guys that are good at it are real good because they've been around, not blowing themselves up for years.
Well, at
Man.
that point, they were still all over in Iraq.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
hadn't made that transition.
Well, guys that went out, so I didn't really do much. I was on the fob the whole time in Iraq. So guys that went to Iraq, like Ramadi and shit, and then were in Afghanistan, would talk about how there were way more IEDs in Afghanistan, but the ones in Iraq were bigger. Because in Iraq it would be a bunch of 155 rounds filled with explosives or what. It was a bunch of military grade shit. They got left behind once the Iraqi army fell and shit. Afghanistan is all homemade explosives where there's little 10-pound, 20-pound, 50-pound, IEDs made out of yellow oil jugs all over the
Anal
place.
enhancement. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
so that's crazy that you were there, like, before that was a problem. I mean, that's good, because it's a weird feeling when you go out and you're like, man, I really hope I don't lose my fucking legs today. Like
yeah.
that's a puts a whole different mood on a patrol or something.
Oh, without a doubt. But the nice thing was, like that entire deployment, I think we only took two casualties,
Yeah, that's
uh,
good.
like KIAs. And it was nice being in an environment where we didn't have to worry about getting smoked by an IED on a patrol.
Yeah,
We were more worried about being ambushed or something like that. But like after the first couple months of there in Garmser, like the Taliban just turned into mist. They disappeared.
yeah.
And then after that, it just came to being census patrols and that kind of stuff, trying to rebuild the area.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I say that's good about the two casualties, I mean in comparison to like if you're invading
Oh, yeah.
if you're
It could have
going in
been
on an
much
invasion,
worse.
it could have been way worse for sure. How many Taliban guys do
Oh,
you guys think that you guys killed out there?
oh, I couldn't even
Oh,
I couldn't even imagine.
it's
Like
crazy.
it
They just keep
was
coming, man.
yeah, and it was kind of funny with some of the times that we got into fights. Uh,
Was this the deployment where you got shot where the photo was taken?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
actually, that was like maybe the second week in the Garmser, third week in the Garmser.
Oh shit, you were still early on when that happened, huh? So you want to explain like the whole situation, what happened there?
Yeah, when we first went into Garmser, we did the night assault. Uh, we have to work our way from the LZ down to our section of the town where we're going to establish our defense, and we've got a company defense almost online. Just platoon here in this building, platoon in that building, whatever. And it was still a pretty kinetic time. We were still getting in firefights, at least a couple a day at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember my guys had just gotten done with watch because I had night post, and we had switched over to a different squad, and I was just sitting there doing my laundry, and laundry was, you got a rusty bucket, I got a bar of soap, and that's it, have fun. But I'm just sitting there scrubbing my clothes, and you hear one round go off. That's not how the Moos usually fight. It's a lot of the spray and pray kind of fight. So just hearing one round was kind of weird. And it was actually close. And like Marshall was different. They could actually shoot there. In Garmser, those guys were god awful.
Mm-hmm.
with everything they shot at you with, RPGs, AK, whatever. Um, but just hearing that one shot and it being close, you can, being able to hear it by the tone. Uh, I went over to check on one of our engineers, and he was just sitting there because, like, I literally just grabbed the rifle and went, and see him sitting there, and hey, man, you okay? Yeah, I'm not sure where it came from, Sergeant. So I'm looking over the wall and I see like movement in a building that's probably not even 100 yards from ours. So I immediately draw down, and as I'm drawing down on the window, Goran, our embed from Reuters, he just starts snapping photos, and literally, like as I draw down on the window, uh, just world goes dark kind of thing. And it turns out like I actually took the round from 90 degrees off to the left. And the way he explained it was he was testing a new type of camera lens and didn't realize he had it on sequence shot. So when he took that picture, it just happened to be at that split second, and it took a sequence of like 4 or 5 photos or whatever it was. Of course, I didn't know any of that. Like, it just, everything went dark. And next thing I know, I'm on a stretcher, like just taped down to the board. My platoon sergeant, Gutty OJ, he's got a bird inbound. He's like, yeah, man, we're getting Kazakh out of here. What the hell's going on? They all thought I took a route of the head or some shit like that. They just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, guys, let me out of here. I'm perfectly fine. Doc, give me a cup of Tylenol kind of thing. So I talk him into not Kazakh me. We sit around bullshitting about it, laughing. And that's when Goran comes over with the camera. He's got that real thick Serbian accent. Look at this, Sergeant B, look at this. Like, oh, shit. My wife's really not going to be happy.
Yeah. That's funny. That's your first reaction.
Oh, without a doubt. Because Goran, he was like, this picture's only been taken once before. That was Korean War. He died. I was like, oh, sweet. But he asked right away if he could put like my name on it and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, not until I talk to the wife. That's going to be the first thing. Just let her know I'm all right.
Yeah, well, that's cool that he even asked. Some guys would have just ran it and not have even asked you.
Oh, this was the most experienced embed I've ever seen. The second we picked him up, he opens up his pack. He just starts pulling out cases of Marlboro Reds.
Oh, really?
I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy knows how to operate, so yeah, we're good with him.
That's cool. Yeah, I guess the only thing better than that is pull out some logs of grizzly wintergreen or something, like give them out. Cause, dudes are running low when they're out there on an operation like that. How'd you guys like having a photographer there with you? Was that was it like, oh man, like, oh, that sucks? Or were you guys, hey, cool, that'll be good?
Well, we were used to him by that point. Cause,
yeah.
I think one of the big things about that push to Garmsor was that was when the first big surge with Afghanistan happened. So like we had all kind of embeds. We had NPR, got 2 or 3 private ones. We had a big name one. I can't even remember what his name is, but he made the initial assault with us, lasted 2 days in the heat, and was like just straight tapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not for me, bro.
Yeah.
That's a lot of journalists, that's their like early days. They're trying to earn their chops, earn their spot on NBC Nightly News or whatever it is. They all start out as like war embeds and stuff to make a name for themselves. And having a photo taken like that, that's great for that photographer. That's a once in a lifetime kind of shot. How did you hear when it started becoming like a famous photo? Did you hear about it again? I mean, you're still in country, so.
I talked to the wife. Yeah, I got to talk to the wife, I think, like 2 days later, maybe a day later, and it had already, shot across and hit like all the magazines and all that kind of stuff, all the newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife just right off the bat, where the hell's your gear? All that. I do remember her saying, I don't care what you're doing for the rest of the time you're there. I don't care if you're doing laundry, taking a shit. I don't care. You are going to wear your helmet. I was like, this is going to be really awkward when we're trying to get in these wag bag tents.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, man. What did it feel like, man? Was it weird? Like, oh shit, my picture's been shown all over the place. Like, I'm kind of the face of this right now.
I thought it was more funny than anything, just because of the massive amount of shit talking that my guys did.
That was my next question. How much harassment did you get from the other dudes around you?
Constant. Because the battalion commander had to have gotten a call from the commandant. Shit had to have rolled downhill.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it because you didn't have your gear and shit on. Oh man, I bet a bunch of people got slapped for that one.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's everybody that has no idea how, like, the fighting was actually going.
How living on the front lines is like, yeah. For sure.
Had the first sergeant threaten me, do that shit again, I'm going to charge you. That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was more just shit talking than anything.
Was it weird having blacked out and like lost a few minutes of time, and then been like, what the hell is happening? What was that like for you?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. That didn't realize it, but that was my second brain injury. Like, started having headaches and issues later on that I didn't even associate it with it at the time. Mm-hmm. Not until later with Doc, like, oh, well, maybe we got to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, so obviously the fame or whatever you want to call it is fleeting. The news cycle continues on, so someone else's photo comes up. Was it something that are you happy that photo's out there, that it was taken, that, you're that's one of the most popular photos from the war, I think. Is that something that you look back on with like, oh, that's cool? Or is it something where you're like, man, that's not really what?
No, I kind of think it's funny.
Yeah.
More than anything. Yeah. Like, if you look at the float book, like the deployment book, they do, in case you don't know, they do like literally a yearbook for every deployment.
Yeah, I got two of them up there. They tried
as hard as they could to make sure that photo was not in there under any circumstances.
Oh, really?
It's like, okay, yeah, that's somebody being butthurt.
They're like, you got your fame. This is for everybody else. We all saw the photo, bro. We don't care.
Right. But it did end up getting contacted by a journalist from the Daily Mail after I had gotten out years later, and that later spiraled into a book that's going to be coming out about it in September.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great, man. I'll have to check it out. You'll have to shoot me a message. What's the title of the book, or do you have one yet?
The Harrowing Journey of a Marine During the War on Terror.
So you say it like you feel weird saying it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a long title, and I thought it was really long until I started looking at comparative titles, and I'm like, nearly every modern book, like military title, is like 20 words long.
Well, plus it's the self-promotion of it, It's like, feels weird to be like self-promoting,
Oh, without a doubt. I don't do social media or anything like that other than like Facebook. That's it. I don't try and like get hit up for articles and stuff like that, though, like Fox has done them, Daily Mail, a couple other places. It's like, I'm not going to seek the shit out, but if you're going to ask me questions about it, then I'm going to speak completely honestly.
Yeah, man, that's what I like. That's what I like to hear. That's why I'm glad you reached out to come on here. And I think it's an awesome. I don't know, man. Again, it's one of those photos that was the war in Afghanistan, right? The guys that weren't sitting at Leatherneck or sitting at fucking Kandahar playing ice hockey or whatever. They didn't experience that. That's a different type of war where you, like you said, you're cleaning your clothes with a bar of soap and a bucket, just basically you try to knock the dirt out of it a little bit, but it's not even really that clean. Shitting in a wag bag, eating hot trays that get sent to you, or MREs or something like that. It's a completely different experience in those the people that lived on fobs and lived in Leatherneck, which was what my life was on my first deployment. And I'm not taking away from their part in the war, because those are the logistics people that are making sure that the vehicles that are fucked up real bad get repaired and come back forward so that you can do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or they're the ones ensuring that the mail's coming to you so that you can get the care packages. Or they're ensuring that, you're getting chow and you're getting clean water and stuff. So it sucks, and I know a lot of people did that kind of deployment. I did as well. And it feels like it's hard to feel proud of it sometimes, because you're like, I just sat around on base and did, like, I was a mechanic, But, it really does matter. So I think having seeing that side of the war is what more people need to see, because most people didn't see that side. Most people were at Kandahar or Leatherneck or Dwyer and had a chow hall and had, like, the good life, if you will. So that's great. You got a book coming out.
That's what made me talk to the reporter in the first place, because he no kidding, Wills Robinson, he handwritten me a letter, mailed it to me, because I guess he knew I wouldn't discuss anything over the internet or anything like that.
Oh, really?
But yeah, he's saying, if there's all kind of books and movies and everything about operators, generals, officers, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But what out there, other than, actually one of the 3-6 Marines from Marja, Ryan Rogers, he wrote the lines of Marja. Joe Chamberlain writes Sniper's War. Those are basically it that I know of from a grunt's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not many, man. There's a few books out there, but they're not widespread. They're not widely publicized. That's one thing I like having on this podcast. And, one of the reasons I started the podcast, because I was like, I was a JTAC. I knew a bunch of other JTACs. Some of them were just regular battalion, infantry battalion JTACs. Some of them were like MARSOC JTACs. But, everybody has their own kind of story. And even if you were just like a regular battalion JTAC, these dudes did crazy shit that people, there's stuff out there that people have never even heard about, that'll never get written into a history book, that'll never get put into a movie. But it doesn't mean that it's not worth talking about and like kind of recording. And I've been lucky enough to have a lot of people come on here and talk about stories that, would never be recorded or never be told, unless they did something like that. So it's like, I really appreciate you reaching out to come on, and I really encourage other people to do the same. They can see the link in the podcast description and stuff. There's a link there to sign up for the podcast, because it's I don't know, people got to know, right? People got to know.
Exactly.
So what all is your book covering? What time frame?
It's covering everything from like when I first joined. It's going to kind of gloss up until. Of course, the 2008 deployment, the picture. Then it'll go into a lot in the Marja. I got hit pretty good in Marja. We had about half my squad got Kazakh. Then after that, it goes into some of the issues I was having with treatment with the VA. Some of the treatment I got outside of the VA that helped a lot. Mm-hmm. And basically what I'm doing now kind of thing.
Who did you go to Marja with? Who were you in Marja with?
1-6.
1-6. What company?
Alpha.
Okay. Yeah, man.
Did you ever seen that Gunny Walgren, John Glenn speech?
Dude, that speech right there was like, when that came out, when I saw that the first time, especially when they put it with the music, there's like the regular version of him just giving the speech. And then there's the music one that I think a combat camera someone put together. When that came out, I was like, dude, they need to show this to every dude before they get out. I'm like, that is about the most motivating thing I've ever fucking heard.
Yep. And that's how that guy, Brian Walgreen, our company Guns, that's how he was all the time.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen a gunny with that much loyalty in a unit.
If people haven't heard that, you got to look it up on YouTube or something. It's like, just look up Gunny Marja speech or something like that, and it'll come up.
Gunny Walgren, John Glenn speech.
John Glenn speech.
It was one of my guys that recorded it.
Who the fuck knows who John Glenn is?
Well, he gets out there and talks, and I told one of my team leaders, I was like, hey, Gonzo, get your camera out, start recording because this is going to be hilarious. Because I mean, last time he pulled us out in a formation like that, he's talking mad shit on, everybody above him kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just great to listen to. We figured it'd be hilarious, but we weren't anticipating that. That was just epicness.
That's one of those things now that's like forever in Marine Corps lore, It's like the EAS song. Marines throughout time will hear that and be like, oh, yeah, okay. I've heard that, or I've seen it, It may not be as popular as it was when it first came out, but it always comes up at some point in somebody's career. You hear that EAS song, or you hear the John Glenn speech or something like that. I think that's super cool, man. What was your feelings going into Marja? Was it kind of like when you were getting ready to go into Garmshire? Was it like, oh, this is going to be kind of like that, or did you think it was going to be like worse?
It was weird. Like we knew going in that we were going to hit Marja, like right when we started that deployment, and when we first hit, I think they put us in Dwyer before we flew in there, but while we were at Dwyer, we actually did feints down south. You were 10th Reg, right?
Mm-hmm. Down at Fiddler's Green.
Yeah.
Yep.
We would actually. It was pretty brilliant the way the battalion did it, because prior to doing the actual hit on Marja, they would send companies up to Fiddler's Green kind of area, and they would get them exposed to being in a firefight. So even your brand new boots are getting that experience. And at the same time, that's concentrating the Mujah's eyes down south.
Mm-hmm.
So they're thinking, that's where we're going to come from Fiddler's Green. So it's basically a feint. But the first couple days we were down there, I got in the worst firefight in my life up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we're done, finish up, do the post patrol, 360. Hey guys, did a great job. Expect this the rest of the deployment. No big deal. They go away. You walk into the squad leader's hut. You just drop from adrenaline. Guys, we're gonna fucking die.
Yeah, dude. Fiddler's Green. So for those that don't know, Fiddler's Green is in the southeastern corner of Marja. It's outside of kind of Marja proper, more out in the countryside of it, but it's in the southeastern portion. And that was the fire base that 10th Marines established to provide fire support throughout Marja and stuff like that during the invasion. And then post the invasion, when I was there in 2011, they were providing fire support for us as well. Did you guys... It's funny because a lot of the artillery guys would talk shit. They're like, we were the first ones into Marja. We were the first ones in. We established Fiddler's Green. That's us. And talk to, so it's funny how you guys would rotate dudes down to the artillery position to get into firefights, because it's normally the other way around. Artillery is not supposed to be near where the fighting, like directly where the fighting's going on. They're supposed to be offset a little bit.
Right, and we didn't have to walk far. I want to say, like my second day, we might have patrolled like a mile, and by the end of that was easily 4 or 5 hour firefight. We actually got support air from a flight of Cobras. I smoked 4 dudes with 1 AT-4 round. My entire squad was damn near black on ammo. And that was my first patrol with my guys to that point.
I bet your new dudes were like, what the fuck is this?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah, and I'm trying to play it off like it's no big deal since I'm, dad to the squad. It's like, this is fucking insane.
It's fine, guys. Look, we're all good. Wasn't that cool? Let's eat and take a nap. Fuck. Yeah, that's crazy. When you guys were down at Fiddler's Green, did you take the opportunity to pull any lanyards? Did you get to shoot the 777s at all?
I didn't. Some of the guys did.
Yeah. I know my buddy Wasson was there. He was a mechanic or something, and they were like, hey, man, if you want to pull the lanyard, like, just if you're around when there's a fire mission going on, we'll let someone, get out of the way and let us do our thing. And we'll just tell you, get ready to fucking do it. Boom. That'd be pretty cool.
Say it really loud.
Yeah, for sure, man. So what else happened during that invasion for you? Didn't you? I think I read you hit an IED or something like that, or was it something else?
Well, that was near the very end. That was actually like when we were getting left seat, right seat,
Okay.
changeover
Okay.
with 2-6. No, that was an intense assault. Uh, you know how you always get those 5-paragraph orders or the op order or whatever, and they tell you, the bad guys can resupply from the north with 300 guys at the drop of a hat. And you're like, okay, whatever. These guys ain't got 300 dudes in this entire region. And in reality, like, we're going in on the night assault, and I'm seeing like anti-air fire, like, pop it up at the Ospreys. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had some light anti-air, the ZPUs, the Dishkas, and stuff like that. They would try to shoot down rotary wing and stuff. Yeah, man. Yep. That's my buddy Matt Ketting was there. He was with, I think, 3rd Marines. They're the ones out of Hawaii, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, he was there with 3rd Marines. He said their machine gunners brought in a 50 cals. They hand carried 50 cals on fucking patrol and stuff for that. I was like, I know, right? I was like, damn, dude, that had to have been tough. But I mean, imagine being the Taliban. You see a foot patrol, and all of a sudden a fucking 50 cal opens up on you. You think that it's just a regular old patrol, and these dudes set up a 50 and start throwing down lead.
Oh yeah, like guys were going with mortars. They were doing hand loads, all that kind of what do you call that?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember what you call it.
I know, charge 1, yeah, where you're. I think I know what you're talking about. Where they're shooting the 60s by hand. Yeah, it's hand load. Yeah. It's hand load.
But these guys we go on a patrol with them.
Yeah,
they'd be dumping wads.
I knew a few guys that were there with 3.6 during Marja, and they were like, man, we were told, hey, take an assault pack with enough stuff for 3 days, and then your gear, bring your rucks, but we're going to bring those in after 3 days. Mm-hmm. And they're like, bro, we didn't see those rucks for fucking 30 days. Like, we were all, they're like, we were all curled up together, like the few dudes had like sleeping systems and stuff like that, or not, maybe not few, but the gear was pretty thin because everybody thought, hey, just bring enough food, water, ammo for 3 days, and then you'll get all your shit to like extend.
Yeah, guys were like breaking thatch roofs to burn just so you could stay warm.
Okay, so you guys had a similar kind of situation?
Yeah, because we hit it in February 18th, I believe, was the day we went in.
Yeah. Yeah, man. How long was the fighting, do you think, before like, okay, we've got it now. We're like settled in a little bit here.
Nearly constant, like damn near until we left.
Yeah.
That was an intense one. Except it wasn't like Garmser where we didn't have to worry about the civilian population as much. Civilians were everywhere in Marja, even during like the hugely kinetic phase.
Yeah. Yeah, that's obviously its own issue, I mean, that sucks too. I can't imagine. It sucks for the families that are caught in between. They're just like, dude, we're just trying to live, man. We're just trying to live. And they're in the middle of a fucking firefight between us and the Taliban or whatever.
Yep, exactly. One of our big issues out there, though, was once McChrystal took over, General McChrystal, his ROEs were a little bit more strict, needlessly so. And I'm a firm believer that he's probably killed more Marines than any Mooj could ever dream of with his ROEs.
It sucks because there's a fine line, right, between the rules of engagement of where we can allow military members to operate freely and do the job and take care of what they need to do. But you also have to obviously protect the civilian populace and stuff like that. And I mean, I've been on the bad end of not getting an approval, because of ROEs or whatever, while being pinned down or something like that. And I know it fucking, that shit is, I don't know, it makes you mad. So I can understand your frustration. Because I was also frustrated with, I think it was 2-7's battalion commander. Like, what the fuck, dude? We're out here trying to do our thing. And shit that's not even like, people took the ROE, the good intentions of like, hey, you can't hit a compound unless you know it's just enemy inside of that compound. Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, I mean, I get that, I guess. And unless they're firing at you and you're like taking casualties, obviously that's a different situation. But if it's just a compound and nothing's happening, you can't just go and blow up a compound. Makes completely sense. Or if you see, like, we would have HVTs, the high value targets, move around. If they go into a compound, then we got to reconfirm that that's still the same person. There's nobody else in the compound. If we're going to blow that dude up, if it's like someone that we need to take out, you know. But then it was like, oh, this dude walked underneath a tarp. Now we don't know who. We got to reconfirm. He was technically in a compound. Hey, we can't blow up that tarp with only one dude. We've been watching it. There's only one dude underneath it. But there could be someone else inside the compound. It's considered a compound. And when lawyers came in and started lawyering it up and like, hey, well, this can be argued that this is a compound, or, you know, we had guys that were in blown up buildings that were with weapons and placing IEDs, and we couldn't strike it because it was a compound that could be a civilian compound. It's like, dude, there's no roof. There's no roof, and they have RPGs stacked against the wall. We could see it in the feed from the aircraft. But nope, you know, and it's like, what that gets a little ridiculous.
And that's the thing too, because like if it's coming from the battalion commander, yeah, that sucks. But that's something at least just the guys on the ground are going to deal with. Mm-hmm. But with like McChrystal's ROE 426, and I can't remember what the other one was, he had aircraft terrified to fire. Mm-hmm. Like I called a Casevac from one of my team leaders after he took a round in the leg, and I told the guy straight up, "Hey, this is a Type 2 control, you know, qualified observer, all this kind of stuff. I can see the gunman." Yeah, but we can't see him, so we're not cleared. No, I see the shooter. This is a Type 2 control. Yeah, but we can't see him, so we're just going to hold off. Our air officer got on the hook, created some bullshit scenario for the air to get out of the way so Pedro can come in and actually like handle business. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
That is crazy. That is because usually aircraft will still. So when you do controls, for those that don't know, like when you're like telling an aircraft they can fire, you're giving that approval. You have to like give the ROE that you're giving them the approval under. Also, you have to be like, this is an approval under ROE, blah 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 blah. You're cleared hot, target, you know, whatever. And yeah, man, it's a lot of the helo guys that I worked with were like, hey, as soon as a round seems like it's coming towards us, we're declaring self-defense, and we'll just start shooting what we think is, you know, a danger to us. And you'd see Hueys or Cobras, what they would call trolling for fire, where they'd come in real low and slow and just kind of go real slow with the Huey, and you'd have a Cobra behind them up high or something, ready just to fucking whack anybody that takes a shot at the Huey. So the Huey's out there for a little bit of bait for someone to shoot at, which is crazy on its own. But
that's the thing too. The problem was never with like the Marine aircraft. It was always with your purple aircraft.
Purple air. Purple, yeah. For those that don't know what we're talking about when we say purple air, those are non-marine assets. Those are or there's like foreign air. You got like a French Mirage pilot coming in. Those dudes aren't dropping shit. Because every country has their own ROEs too. If you had a French guy, those dudes weren't dropping anything unless you had multiple people dead, and even then, I don't know if they would. The British aircraft would drop, but the British aircraft were pretty good. They would drop, but you have to have a pretty good. Again, their ROEs were stricter than ours. Marine aircraft weren't like, it's not like they were being abusive to the ROEs or anything. They were doing what they were supposed to do, but they weren't afraid to come in and help you out. Like if you're getting shot at, they're going to come in and fucking, you know, because that's what they live for. You know, the combat pilots in the Marine Corps, the skid guys, the fucking F-18 guys, the Harrier guys, that's what they live for.
Oh, without a doubt. And the best part is like they've trained exclusively for CAS. So,
yeah.
You know, they definitely know how to do it right.
So what happened at the end of the deployment? You said you got blown up towards the end of it then?
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, that was a rough one. The turnover for like TTPs with us versus the Taliban was insane. Like they would overcome everything we would try at the cyclic rate. Mm-hmm. So like they started putting in a lot of IEDs. We stopped walking the roads. Well, we started using fields. They start using directional firing canisters. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we stay off the trails. Well, they hit us with one I'd never seen before, and that was putting them into the walls.
Yep.
when one of the patrols I came back towards the end of deployment, I got a call on the radio, and it was Rouser, one of the other squad leaders. He's like, "Hey man, somebody here to see you." And I show up, and it was Sergeant Shanfield, and this is the brother of one of the guys in Pennsylvania that I was a recruiter with. Like this kid came out of one of my high schools, out of my shop and all that kind of stuff. And he's already the same rank I was, which was kind of depressing. But yeah, him and a couple other squad leaders from 2-6 were the advanced party. So I decided, hey, I'm going to take a couple of these guys, and we want to show them the area, but I'm done putting my guys at risk. We're too close to leaving, so I don't want to get into anything sketchy. So we pushed south of our platoon fob, or platoon cop, and not even like 600-700 yards. And I put my squad in a satellite patrol. So one of my fire teams was up north covering our approach. And I think we had gone in this building like once the entire deployment. So take Shanfield and Walters in, take my squad in. And as soon as we walk in, I'm like, God, we should sweep it, because we had the metal detectors. Like, I looked at Gonzo's pack, and I'm like, oh shit, we should sweep this on the way in. I was like, no, we're not going to be here long enough. And I was telling the squad leaders, like, we were standing on the corner of a building, and I was like, check this out, guys. We'll be here 10 minutes, and you're going to start seeing a van show up. You'll start seeing guys with mopeds come up. Just the regular procedure those guys go with.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal was, as soon as that happens, get the fuck out. I get a call from one of my DM, my designated marksman for the squad, and he had just popped a guy, he was doing some kind of command, because the guy literally had binos and a mic that he was talking on, which that's ROEs, that's PID. But the DM rifle jammed, and he couldn't get the round out. And he called me over. He's like, Sergeant B, can you help me out? And I'm thinking, this is fucking stupid. He knows how to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk away, go over to him, take a knee by him. We start racking it. As soon as I took a knee next to him, the whole building just blew. And actually, where Shanfield, Walters, and I were standing, that was where one of the charges was. So, after that, I don't remember shit. I know React came down. They ended up casevacing half my squad to Dwyer, because that's when they first opened up into a Rule 2.
Mm-hmm.
Shanfield and Walters, they were KIA immediately. One of my guys, Bernstein, I didn't take a lot of shrapnel or anything. I didn't take any of that shit, because he was right next to me, and his face just got smoked with pieces of wall and shit like that. I mean, he's good now and everything, but yeah, my guys got pretty tore up from it. But yeah, that was a rough one.
So the blast knocked you out though?
Yeah. Next thing I know, I woke up. I was already in the hospital over at Dwyer.
So second time that's happened, that you woke up,
Yeah.
like, what the fuck just happened? What was your thought? What was going through your head when you kind of came to and like, what's going on now?
Yeah, I had no idea what the hell had happened. I didn't know where I was, what I was doing, anything. I couldn't hear. Both my eardrums got blew out. But, just piecing together with the guys what happened, we figured it out, and it's like, holy shit. And then you get word that, Walters is gone, Shanfield's gone. It's like, holy shit, I just got 2 guys killed kind of thing. But yeah, that was pretty shitty. And my guys basically just stood by while the rest of the company got out of there, because I mean, that was the end of the deployment.
Yeah, one of the last patrols. Fuck, man.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible. And after the deployment, after 2-6 gets back, they do their memorial piece, and I got to sit down with Shanfield's mom and explain you know, this is what happened. That's that was probably the low point of my entire life right there.
That's tough stuff, man. That's like
Yeah, what?
unimaginably tough stuff.
Yeah. And I was pretty fucked up at the time. Uh, but yeah, that was an insane deployment.
It sounds like it, man. Yeah. So, I mean, after that, what was going on? What was your plan? I can't imagine. I mean, I imagine. Of course, you're gonna be fucked up after something like that. How can you walk away from that and not have a little
Oh,
bit of some kind of issues going on? So, was that something you had to battle with for a while?
they ended up uh, they ended up sending myself and Ernstein, I think it was, back. We actually had to go through launch to Germany, and they flew us back that way. We got back to 1-6 only a couple of weeks before the rest of the unit got back. They tried sending me to Wounded Warrior Battalion. I was there for like 2 days, and I was like, nope, like, send me back to 1-6. I at least got like control over my appointments and shit there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a couple months after I got hit, I picked up staff sergeant. And since I was one of the only staff NCOs still on limb due, because a lot of us were still fucked up. Um, but I was a staff sergeant. They're like, hey, we need a new battalion substance abuse control officer.
Mm.
Here you go. There's not a worse fate on this planet than me doing paperwork. Uh, but by that time, we'd actually got a new battalion Sergeant Major Harrington, and he was actually one of my first platoon sergeants. I called him in, we out do the high five, good to meet you. It's been a while, that kind of shit. And I was like, dude, you got to get me out of this gig. I can't do paperwork. And I had a by name request to go out to EWTG, Expeditionary Warfare Training Group, to teach the scout summer schools. One of my buddies was out there doing that as well. But somehow the monitor was like, nope, we need bodies at field med, training docs.
Mm.
Like, okay, I'll do it. As long as it's not paperwork, I don't give a shit. I'll do it.
Yeah.
What is it? Like, I had no idea what the job was. Talked to Sergeant Major. He had never even heard of the school. I'm like, shit. But yeah, it turned out to be probably one of the best gigs of my entire career.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it was a blast.
Yeah, Field Med. It's Field Med Training Battalion for those that don't know, and it's like where the corpsmen that get assigned to the green side is what we say, meaning the Marines because they're Navy corpsmen. They go through that, which is kind of like our Marine combat training. They go through and learn basic skills, how to do. If they're corpsmen, they know how to treat people, but now they got to learn how to treat them under fire and stuff like that. So that's what Field Med is. Probably, I don't know, was that around before the global war on terror, or is that a product of it, of people going, we probably need to do a little bit more training before guys get to the fleet?
It's been around forever, just under different names.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, but like that school, everybody there, well, first of all, it was only 403 staff sergeants. You had 4 infantry staff sergeants. Everybody else was Navy. So we got carte blanche to basically do whatever we wanted, which was a bad idea for us. Most of us, both the docs and the Marine instructors, were Marja vets. We had Joe Wright. He was, I think he was an India Company platoon sergeant. Staff Sergeant Polanco. I don't know if you knew him when you were in 3-6, but he was the scout sniper platoon sergeant. A couple of dust off the Kazovac corpsmen that were flying overhead. They were at field med at the same time.
That's cool.
It was a tight group. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's good. It's good experience, man. It's one of those things where, especially when the war's going on, you're getting people that are coming from that environment and be able to translate those lessons, in real time. Like, hey, here's real world what's going to happen. Like we're teaching you we're teaching you this stuff. These are lessons learned from what's actually occurring right now. It's we're in this weird phase. I think the military's in this weird phase now where you're running into obviously junior Marines, but NCOs and staff NCOs with no deployments. no combat deployments and stuff like that. So it's slowly becoming the Marine Corps that you joined in 2000,
Mhm.
without that combat experience, like where you said, when you went on your first deployment, you were looking at your seniors like, you guys haven't done this yet either. Like in your own mind, you're like, this is
Right?
all theory to everybody. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's going, or I think that's probably where they're at now. And I think that's why I like having people like you on and doing these podcasts and stuff, because it's lessons learned, being told. Here's what happened during my deployment. Here's things I saw. That's like invaluable lessons that you're not going to get out of FM whatever manual, field manual, whatever that tells you. It's just not there. You got to hear from the people that were there, and that field med is like one of those spots where you can just get that constant updating and training and stuff like that to make sure that people are. I don't know if that's what occurred, but I'd like to think that's what occurred. That
Oh
was
yeah.
okay. Yeah, TTPs are constantly updated and like, hey, here's what guys downrange are seeing.
They had a whole academic section that was dedicated just to like every type of new device used to that could possibly be used on the battlefield. That's where they would test it. All kind of stuff.
That's good stuff, man. That's good, man. I mean, like I said, that right there, those kind of lessons, you're teaching people how to save lives. And it's like, again, out in the real world, it's just so different because it feels like nothing really matters. Whereas in the Marine Corps, it's like, this fucking matters. Like, if I don't do this
Yep.
right, someone could literally die, like for real. Like this isn't
Well,
bullshit.
one of the best things that I experienced, it's a horrible situation, but one of the things that made me feel good about being a instructor down there was myself and my best friend, Doc Arnold. We were pushing classes together, and the guy gets sent. I can't remember what unit it was, but it was when that mortar tube blew in Caps.
Well, it was
When they
in like,
double loaded.
yeah, it was in like Nevada or some shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the company corpsman that was there, the doc on scene that like treated and triaged like 7 dudes in like 2 minutes, was actually one of our old students. And that guy wrote a letter back to Brandon and I saying, hey, thanks to the stuff that you guys taught me, we were able to do this, this, and this. And it's like, kind of gave you that warm and fuzzy kind of feeling.
Yeah,
you
man,
know?
that makes it worth it right there.
But at the flip side of the coin, you would also see, some of the worst examples of leadership on the planet go through that school, because it's not just junior guys. It's any sailor that's going to the Marine Corps whatsoever. So you would get like
Oh.
senior chiefs going through that shit.
Oh, see, I thought it was just like the junior corpsman or like the yeah, I didn't know it was interesting. Man. But hey, man, like you said though, getting that kind of feedback is awesome. You hear that. And it's like I said before, it's not that serious out here in the real world. And that's what a lot of people I think miss about the military, is that it kind of all feels like bullshit out here. It's like, yeah, what if I don't do this? Who cares? Like, what's going to happen? Whereas in the Marine Corps, like everything felt, there was a reason for why we were doing shit, and there was a reason why like things were done a certain way, or I don't know. It's just a different vibe. Did you have, what was your transition like?
Well, when I got out, that was when they came out with the VSP program. The Marine Corps was like, hey, we got too many, infantry staff sergeants. So you want 110 grand to get out? Yeah, sure. I'm done.
Yeah.
Just because I knew that last blast that had jacked up my head big time. We did DOD did a neuropsych exam on me. It turned out I had like brain damage, like 4 different sections. So it was basically, you're never going to lead guys again. And I cannot set in a nest shop. I would off myself. No way in hell. So last minute, I decided to do that VSP. They put me through the VA, or not through the VA, but through the transition classes, the SEPs and TAPs. And I remember going through that and asking one of the guys in charge, I was like, how'd you get this gig? Because that's a pretty skate gig. I just finished being a formal school instructor with Field Med. And he's like, yeah, apply to this spot. And 4 or 5 weeks later, after I got out, I'm working for the VA teaching SEPs and TAPs classes.
Oh, was that weird? Was that like, man, I just got out myself. Like now I'm telling you guys how to do it.
It was real. We're teaching VA classes, and we all still got like pending VA claims.
Mm.
Some of us are like damn near still terminal. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I bet. That's you know, hey, at least you fell into something though as soon as you got out.
yeah,
That's good. A lot of guys don't, man. A lot of guys, I don't think a lot. I
exactly.
think a lot of people, and myself included, you get so tired of government work and working for people that you can't say anything to because they're morons, but they outrank you or whatever. And I think a lot of guys don't really look at the amount of jobs there are on USA Jobs because that's where you go for a VA job,
Yeah.
right? USA Jobs.
Uh, Not in my case because I went through a subcontractor.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, well, gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. If you're looking to be like an actual GS employee, then you go through USA Jobs, but there's a different
oh yeah.
forums out there for the contractor kind of roles and stuff like that. Do you think that made it better, kind of transitioning into a job where you still dealt with military people though, so that you never kind of lost touch with it?
I think 100% it did. Uh, I think it helped me a lot with my head issues too,
Yeah.
because like for 2 days I had a captive audience that were receiving 8 hours of death by PowerPoint per day.
Mm-hmm.
And like you feel bad for these guys already. I might as
Mm-hmm.
well try to make the shit humorous, and try and engage with them. So I go through a lot of the issues that I was having, how I got treated for it, how I fucked up my way with VA,
Mm-hmm.
uh, how they could avoid those problems, stuff they should look at doing. Uh, so it was pretty enriching in that, like, I'd actually help counsel guys as they were getting out,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but man, those subcontracting companies don't pay shit.
Oh
It
yeah,
was,
they're in it for the money,
it
man.
was pretty bad. Oh yeah. Um,
And you can tell the ones that are just in it for the money too. Like one of them is the here at Camp Pendleton, or it used to be. I don't know the name of the company, but you would have to do your VA physical before you got out. You had to go and see the place they sent us to. Is some like little sketchy looking place staffed by sketchy looking people. Probably like a brand new doctor out of med school that was like last in his class or something like that. You could tell he doesn't want to be there. It was just like, this is it, huh? Like this is and it's all contractors just trying to make money.
yep. And
That's the
it was
game.
fun. It was actually kind of funny because we went to DC for training for the job. And you gotta remember, like I was the assistant site lead for Camp Lejeune, Camp Geiger, and Cherry Point.
Hmm.
So 3 bases I was the assistant site lead for, and I was making 27 a year.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah,
That's
during one of the
crazy.
training sessions, this VA lady comes out. She was one of the undersecretaries for benefits. She's like, we didn't ensure that no veteran should ever have to work for less than 30,000 a year. It's like, bitch, I'm working for you and I'm making 27.
Yeah, like what are you talking about? That's crazy. Yeah. Fuck, man. That sucks. Are you still doing that?
It did, no, it did give me time to like get my head fixed, get the treatment that I needed.
Yeah.
The pay wasn't that good, but like they gave you time for your appointments. And 2 years ago, I got hired with your buddy Cassidy.
Oh, no
Uh,
shit.
yeah, work. That's how I met him, working at marathons, and I got the dream life right now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, for those that don't know, you guys do the robots on the range. So you'd spend every day on the
Yep.
rifle range, right? Just driving little robots around and programming them and stuff.
Not even just the rifle range, because that would bore the hell
Well,
out of me.
yeah.
Like
Well, I
every
mean,
range on the
yeah. Not the rifle
live
range probably at
fire,
all. Yeah, that's awesome.
it's a
Man, not too many people would be mad about just spending their days on the range because you guys probably get to shoot occasionally, don't you?
right. Oh yeah. Well, not officially, no, but I mean,
It happens. But that's cool, man. That's good stuff. That's
that's
congrats
why
on
accidents
that.
happen.
Congrats on that. And people ought to be on the lookout for jobs like that because I knew you guys were hiring just recently, not too long ago. So that's good stuff. So those
Yep.
jobs are for sure out there. Well, let's wrap this up, man. What was the name of the book coming out again, and when can you expect that to be out?
It's called The Shot. It's easy. You just look out for the cover because it's going to be that picture from Reuters,
Okay.
and it's going to be coming out on, I believe, Veterans Day. of this year.
All right, man. Well, when you get the cover and all that stuff, when everything's like good to go, send me the information. I'll put it up on my social media so people can check it out and everything. Do you have like a website? I know you said you don't really do social media that much, but do you have any social media or website that you want to push people to?
They're actually making the website now.
Okay.
So once all that gets out there, I'll make sure I hit you up.
Yeah, let me know once you get it, and what I'll do is once you update me, I'll add it to the show description so people can just go into the description and look at it.
I really appreciate you having me, man. This is a good time.
No, for sure, man.
It's the first time I ever had to do one of these things. So
hey, first podcast. I'm glad I could be the one, man. So hey, maybe you'll start getting some more after this. You got to get out there and pound the pavement, promote that book.
Yeah, that's what they're telling me to do, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, at least I can start with a friend of a friend.
Yeah, I didn't even know. You saying that just now is the first time I even realized, unless I could be wrong. You may have emailed me about it before, but
he's the one who introduced us on that Facebook message.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. I was thinking for some reason, I thought you were one of the guys that reached out on the survey and reached out to me that way. Gotcha. Okay. Well, anyways,